You know, if you would have told me 6 years ago that Fallout 76 was going to be one of my major games that I've ever played, and would have told me that I would have played it every day, I would have called you crazy. There just wasn't a huge reason to want to play it back when this first came out. Oh, we unlocked some long barrels. But now it feels different. It feels better, and it feels like an actual game that people are wanting to play. And I'll be the first one to admit that I dove out of Fallout 76 back in 2018, like the moment that it came out, because it just wasn't worth the time. There wasn't anything to do other than you could have just played Fallout 4 instead. So I entirely acknowledge that I abandoned the game back in 2019 when it first came out. And then, you know, most of us did leave. It was a completely empty world. And it ruined the base expectation for most people when they started playing it, mostly because of the whole not having anything to do. You were kind of just running around the world and hoping that the holotapes left by these ghosts gave you enough information for you to thoroughly enjoy your playing experience. It was just nothing to do. And you know, back in the day, the Scorched Beast was the most terrifying part of it all. That was the main thing. And there wasn't even like a legendary exchange back then. That came in during a different update later on. So there wasn't any crafting, there wasn't any daily routines, there wasn't really anything to do other than events. What was considered the main story and what you could do when it first came out. And there's nothing worse than getting into a game and then it not pulling you towards something, you know, giving you a path to follow to get what you needed or to enjoy the time that you spent in the game. I came back in like 2020, so you know, 3-ish years later, back when the Wastelanders became a thing. And Wastelanders introduced the settlement and some factions and some things that you can do instead of just your basic stuff. They hosted up into the White Springs Refuge. You could do the daily ops within there. I think they brought in expeditions back then, so there was just a lot more to do. The dailies helped, and I came during the Brotherhood of Steel. What was it? Steel Dawn, which was like towards the end of 2020, and it was okay. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was something to do. And now I will say that I joined it and I did all right. I finally got through because the dailies and the factions helped a ton. But what you wound up finding is that those became boring. You needed more than just the dailies or the factions in order to keep you rolling. So I left again around level 100. I knew most of the crafting systems and the legendaries and how you got them. And I left, you know, I just wasn't ready to commit. And the main quest back in the day was mostly just about you defeating the Scorched Beast and launching a nuke, and launching a nuke in order for you to defeat the Scorched Beast Queen. And I never got to that point. I never launched a nuke. I did want to do it so that I could fight Earl Williams, and when we got into that fight and finally beat him, it just felt good, you know? It's like, man, I finally did something that I wanted so bad, and it gave me the sense of value and made me want to return to get stronger and do more. It was a good point for me in the world of Fallout 76. It was something that I enjoyed. Not to mention that that was probably the most rewarding thing that I've done in the world of Fallout 76, and it genuinely showed me that there was something to earn in this. And now, what fills the world nowadays is, you know, dailies, raids, expeditions. You can do stuff for Crater up north for the raiders, or you can do stuff for the settlers down south at Foundation. Then there's the whole quest line for the Brotherhood of Steel, which is here. And then there's the whole quest line for the Skyline Valley that came out. And now there's a whole quest line for Burning Springs. There's the Gleaming Depths, which is a raid that is a little sketchy and scary. Like, there's just stuff to do, and it makes the game fun. There's multiple faction quest lines. Every week there's usually something different or something neat that somebody's come up with in the area of Fallout 76. And it's just been proven that they wanted people to play this. And there's only been 2 MMOs that I have been absolutely enamored with, and that's been the Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. And it just so happens that they're both, Bethesda titles. And then when you get down to the Skyline Valley, you have the Lost Dwellers, and then when you get over here, you have the Rust Raiders, and there's always new things to new things to discover and different things to do throughout the day. And if you don't want to play with people, you really don't have to. This is entirely perfect for people to be able to play solo. And my current goal is to do a raid, the Skyline Valley. I've slowly built my character to become something that I could use in a raid. And now, don't get me wrong, you can play solo. There are plenty of times where I'm just doing things by myself because I don't want somebody running around and messing with my plan or my route or anything like that. And the multiplayer is necessary in certain aspects, but it's not... You don't have to do it, you don't have to do a raid. That's not... You don't have to. It's just a way to get legendary items and stuff like that. And I mean, other than that, like, it plays like a regular Fallout game. And I don't think you can really complain about that if that's what you want. It does get difficult trying to find like certain legendaries or learning a new mechanic or system in order to get what you want. But once you figure it out, you're usually pretty solid. You don't really have to worry about too much. And my whole goal when I started playing was to just make some form of solo build so that I could do like raids, or I can do expeditions by myself. I don't need any help doing those. I could do most public events, and I still don't even have the full armor set that I'm trying to make. I still need Overeater, and I can't remember what the other thing is, but I'm close. We're getting there. It's slowly getting there. And people get burned out on any game, especially MMOs, and it usually boils down to just a couple things. If you're rushing it, it'll ruin it because you're missing systems and mechanics that you should be figuring out before you get to that part of the game. So once you've hit level 50, which begins, your hunts for legendaries and your hunts for all the armor pieces you want or crafting recipes you're needing, that all happens after level 50. And, mid to late game requires specific items, pure flux, or it's just certain things that you are going to need. And a lot of people, I don't think, understand that legendary crafting takes quite a bit of time. You need not an extensive amount of research, but each legendary mod, depending on being 1, 2, or 3 star, takes some pretty rare resources sometimes. A lot of the times I just have to go and buy things, like for my unyielding power armor or my unyielding mod, you have to have Excel. It's not a crazy thing to get, but it's kind of expensive, and I ended up paying caps after I found somebody to buy it. That way I didn't have to go and try to loot it or hop servers to get something to pop in. So then that kind of goes into the next range of things, which is you need to scrap everything that you can. You may be overweight, but traveling to your camp is entirely free, even if you're overweight. And if you can't travel because you're overweight, just use the travel expert, or there's a perk card that'll give you, at a discounted rate or at a higher rate, you can fast travel depending on how much you're overweight. But if you go to like White Springs or your main area, you don't have to pay anything, and you can come and scrap everything that you need to scrap and get out of there. You don't have to worry too much about it. And you should really attempt to loot everything. Like when I found that luck bobblehead, I didn't even know that spawned there. It just happened to be there, which is perfectly awesome, just because I was just being a little aware. And I don't think you should waste perks to try to find, what you're looking for here. I think you should just get pretty good at remembering things, because your build is super important towards the end. And you can definitely tell that this game rewards people who put time in over speed, because there's not really a speedy way to do anything. There's always this roundabout way to get what you're wanting, but it's not always the best method in order to do it. So take your time and just learn the systems, and you should be good to go. And now, a story that has a relatively easy or quick main storyline can be a little, I don't know, boring. So this game really isn't for everyone, and that's okay. This game's mainly for the people that want to achieve challenges or goals, or can make their own goals. You got to have something to work towards that you can beat that is relatively realistic. If you're a player 1, you're probably not going to do a raid in the first 2 to 3 weeks. It's probably going to take you a little while to get in there. There's also tons of little lore, like that jeweler's note back at that cabin. That's something that doesn't give you a quest, but it gives you a little bit of insight on how the world was working. You could find tons of caves with people, and the landscape, like look at this. This is nighttime in Ohio, and it looks so good. It's got that nice color, it's got a little bit of an aurora borealis in there, and sometimes it gets even prettier. So landscape enjoyers, lore wanderers, people who make their own goals, and achievement seekers are going to have the best time here. And now time to get rid of the locals. And after I finally beat Earl Williams and I got a big achievement, there was always another big achievement to hit. After Earl Williams, I wanted to know if I could solo an expedition, which I can. And now I think the next step is really getting into those raid style things. And I've slowly been building armor, and it's taken me weeks to get everything that I needed because I don't know how to craft certain mods. It takes time to get in there. And this became my main game over time, and it's very comforting knowing that it's there. I picked it back up in September, and I had around 250 hours, and I put like 170 hours in the month of September alone. It's really good. So if you picked it up back in the day and haven't had any luck having fun, I encourage you to retry it with like very clear goals. I want to beat the main story. I want to do an expedition. I want to increase my reputation with one of the factions. I want to do a storyline I haven't done before. I highly recommend doing that. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment at what your favorite Fallout game was, if this is your first Fallout game. And as always, I love you, mean it by. I will see you in the next one. And as always, remember to stay girthy.